The NFC East through 6 weeks is pretty competitive, and I want to start doing this weekly on the channel, whether it be Wednesdays or Thursdays, where we take a look at the NFC East now that the season is in full swing and talk about one, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles and their standing, but two, their competition and how I think the rest of the season could stack up for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, ultimately, when we look at this NFC East, we see Washington at the top of the conference, or excuse me, at the top of the division, with Jaden Daniels leading the way at 4-2. Philly trailing by half a game at 3-2 because they had the early bye. Dallas at 3-3, they look pretty bad at this point in time, and the New York Giants at 2-4. And I gotta be honest with you guys, when I look at this NFC East, I actually feel kind of good about where Philly is at. The Giants, let's start with them, they're out of it. Daniel Jones as their quarterback just isn't good enough to win games. It's gotten to the point where Brian Daboll needs to make play calls and play designs and drive designs with going for it on essentially every fourth down because the offense can't pick up more than 2 to 4 yards per play. Could that bite me in the ass by, saying that about the Giants and then they play the Eagles this week? I guess we'll see. Dallas, they can't stop a nosebleed, and you could run all over them. And that spells really good for both the Commanders and the Eagles' great rushing attacks. Saquon Barkley, of course, for Philly, and the Commanders with Jaden Daniels and Brian Robinson. I think a lot of Dallas's flaws are being really highlighted this year. If Dak and CD just aren't the two best players on the field when they're playing, they get rocked. They got rocked by Detroit. They got rocked by Baltimore. Baltimore secondary let them come back in that game, and an onside kick recovery was a little fluky, but when they play good teams, they get rocked. I'm actually not worried about Dallas at this point in time, and I'm actually hearing rumors that they might trade Micah Parsons. So, those two teams feel like clear cut at the bottom. Then we have, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles, who, when you look at some of these net points for, points against, you have to factor in that they, have played a less game. But in terms of, where they're at points wise, if they get 20 points in their next game, like they would be better than the Cowboys offensively. I feel like they are the clear cut second through 6 weeks to Washington in terms of play. But as well, they haven't played anybody in the division yet. So there's a lot of opportunity for a come up if you are the Philadelphia Eagles. As well, the schedule's kind of light for Philly, as we get to this back half of the year, especially against defenses. I do think the offense will be able to get going. We saw A.J. Brown return this past week against Cleveland, and he had, 10 for 116 and a touchdown, or 6 for 116? I don't know. I don't remember the exact receptions, but the point being, the boy came back, and he immediately dropped 100 yards and a touchdown. Saquon didn't have the best day, but I know the final score didn't reflect it versus Cleveland, but I did think that Philly controlled that game. And when you have an offense like Philly does and a defense that is good but not great and can't be the strength of a team, controlling the game is paramount for success. They did that versus Cleveland, and I get it. It's Cleveland. Cleveland's dog water. But when you play bad teams, you got to be able to control the game, and Philly did that. They played the Giants this week. I would expect Saquon to have a bigger day, but that, Giants defensive line is legit. We're going to get to see another good look at Jalen Hurts versus pressure, but hey, this season, Jalen Hurts has done pretty well versus pressure. It's just a matter of, can Washington hold on to the early lead that they jumped out to versus Philadelphia? And of course, the two games that these teams have to play this year versus each other are going to be major swing factors. I do think the NFC East could be the home to two playoff teams, but we'll see. The NFC North has 4 teams that are really vying for a playoff spot right now, and 4 teams that are playing better football than us. That's for sure. In the NFC South, you have Atlanta and Tampa Bay, who both have tiebreakers over Philly, and somebody has to win the NFC West, and, the Rams could make a comeback. So Philly needs to win the NFC East. It can't be understated, especially when you factor in coming down to the wire. The NFC North's going to have 3, maybe 4 playoff teams, and if there's only one team left to get in between the NFC South and the NFC East, Atlanta and Tampa have the tiebreaker over us. That is not a great spot to be in, but I don't think the division of the NFC East is by any means lost on the Philadelphia Eagles. They are in a fine spot here. Go get the division win versus the Giants and keep it moving. Get that net points up. I think plus minus is such a telltale factor of who the better teams are in the NFL. And you take a look here, Washington plus 33, Philly -6. They've been playing as close to 500 football as you can. But look at Dallas, right? When they win, it's a close game like it was versus Pittsburgh. You know, they're 1 4th down conversion away from being a 2-4 football team. When they get rocked, they get rocked. 0-3 at home. You know, they're just not taking care of business, these bottom teams. The Giants, we kind of expected them not to. The Cowboys, the fall off is here. And Washington, better than expected. They're 2-0 at home, 2-1 in conference play. They score a ton of points. That rushing attack is really, really good. But, you know, as more film comes out on this team and as more film comes out on Jaden Daniels, I wonder if we'll see ways to slow down this Commanders offense, just kind of emerge. I'm not sure if Philly quite has the personnel for it, but the trade deadline is approaching. Howie Roseman has shown a willingness to make moves in the past. I do think a pass rusher will be coming to Philly, whether that's a Zadarius Smith or the Jets cut Hassan Reddick and we bring him back, or, you know, some other option. I don't think it's going to be a Max Crosby or Myles Garrett like people are suggesting, although I would certainly be willing to trade 2 first-round picks for either one of those absolute game wreckers. But when we take a look at the whole of the NFC East, I actually feel pretty good about where the Eagles currently stand. Washington's good, but I think Philly is the more talented roster and can catch them if they play up to their potential. But those are just my thoughts on the NFC East and where the Philadelphia Eagles stand. Be sure to let me know yours in the comment section. And if you love the Eagles, hit that subscribe button. I will catch you guys next time. Peace.